Hey guys, it's Carly. Welcome back to High Country Homesteading. It is the end of October. Right now it's October 26th. And it's such a gorgeous, sunny degree day. But next week it is severely dropping and we're going to be having our first real frost. I think it's gone down to 32 degrees a couple of times, but I think it's shooting all the way down to 22. So I think pretty much this garden is going to be toast for the rest of the year, and that's going to be the end of the first garden at this home in 2023. And I have a lot of feelings about it. But I'm going to take you around the garden today. A couple of things that I want to make sure I get done before it gets down to 22 degrees is I want to harvest anything I possibly can, especially the flowers, because I would love to get one more beautiful garden bouquet on the kitchen table before the season is gone. Now that also means that a lot of fall things I planted I don't think are going to come to fruition, like the Brussels sprouts and cabbage and broccoli. I don't know. I think I'm just going to leave them alone and see, but for everything else that's already spent, we're going to chop it all down and get everything covered up with leaves and probably some more compost and let that sit over the winter until we are ready to plant again in the spring. So I will take you around what the October garden looks like and see what else we can harvest before our frost comes in and ends the season. We do have a couple of dahlias still holding on. We have this beautiful apricot color. I'm loving this. So this was a late bloomer this year out of the dahlia bunch over here. And then over here, this dahlia plant has just bloomed for the very first time. This is gorgeous, bright fuchsia color. I love it. And I have quite a few blooms on here as well. So I don't know what the frost is going to do to that, but I'm grateful to at least have this one, and hopefully we can get some more next year. I also have this little ladybug decided to join us. Hello. The only other thing going on in this bed right now is these are all carrots. I know carrots can do a decent while in a frost, so all carrots are pretty much the only things that are going to stay. But otherwise, all these cosmos, these zinnias are pretty much on their way out. This dahlia bush right here is all pretty spent. And I tried planting beets here for the fall, but none of them came up. It was probably bad on me for watering, but no beets, just an empty space. So here's where I replanted all of the cabbage and Brussels sprouts, but as you can see, they're still pretty awfully bitten up and chewed on by bugs. Some looking nicer than others, but I don't know if this bed will survive the 22 degrees. We'll have to see. I'm not going to do anything to cover it. It just is what it is for now, and we'll see what happens there. Behind me we have some more carrots, and then here is where I planted a bunch of peas. I know these probably should have been trellised. They're kind of all over the place, but I have been getting some sugar snap peas, so that's been nice. They've been super tasty. I have a bunch of borage that decided to come up on its own from where I planted it before. And then over here I have lots of green bean plants. We've harvested a little bit off of these, not too much, but there's some baby green beans going on here. So that's been nice, hoping to get one more flush of green beans that we could eat out of the garden before the frost comes. And here is the pepper bed. We've still got some life going on here, although everything's pretty much just babies. We're not going to get many full-grown things. There's one or two full-grown banana peppers hanging around. Very happy with the pepper harvest this year. I think next year I don't need to plant as many now that I know how much I'm going to get, but I'm not sure we have much to harvest in here because I think everything's looking pretty small, but there's a couple little guys still hanging on, but I think we got most of the pepper harvest over with. We've still got a couple of tomatoes hanging on for dear life on this trellis. that I was really hoping would turn red, but I think we're gonna harvest them as green because these will definitely be toast in the frost. I have one over here. It's pretty sizable. It looks like it just barely wants to start blushing, but I think we're gonna have to pick that before it's good. But pretty much everything else is not looking so hot. But I am impressed with how these tomatoes have been hanging on all the way until October. So here's where I replanted all of the broccoli. And I mean, it's coming. If the frost doesn't take it down, I think we have the very beginnings of a head of broccoli right here. So I'm sad to cut that short possibly, but I don't know. We'll have to see if it gets all knocked out. But if the broccoli does survive, I think we could possibly get some, which would be really super exciting. Broccoli is my favorite. I've been able to harvest a bunch of lettuce. It's just started bolting from this little like last minute hot weather that we've gotten. But lettuce has been nice. This has been a butter crunch variety. And kale, not so much. It hasn't grown past this. I have harvested like one bag full basically of kale. And that's as big as it got. But this is a blue curled kale. And it's pretty tasty, but have been happy to have that one last time before the cool weather blows in. The only other dahlias hanging on for dear life are these, which are beautiful. Another like way deeper fuchsia color than the other ones. But these are super nice to have, and we'll cut those and put them in our final bouquet. Our sunflower and squash area is looking pretty pathetic and overrun with weeds right now. I'm super unhappy with the squash harvest this year. I mean, this one, there's a couple trying to grow. They're so puny. I mean, look at that compared to my hand. Butternut squash should be way bigger than this. And everything just keeps dying on the vine before it has a chance to ripen. So like we've got one here. We have another over here that's just not going to make it. And this little baby one over here. It's just been a really pathetic butternut squash harvest this year. And last year they did much better, even though I had no idea what I was doing. So I feel like maybe it's a watering thing, not quite sure, but hopefully we will do better at squash next year. One thing I'll definitely do again is this wildflower section planted along the fence line. It's been really beautiful to look at. Mostly cosmos, but I would love to put in some different varieties of colors next year, but I've loved this section. I'm definitely going to want to put it along the rest of the fence as well. I barely had flowers over here this year. I mostly kept them in this area, so definitely something I want to do next year is intersperse colorful flowers throughout the entire thing. Our last hopeful still hanging on in this garden is this jack-o'-lantern pumpkin hanging out down here. It's still working, still attached to the vine, trying to turn orange. I think I'm gonna cut this off the last minute, but we're probably gonna have to cut this before it all the way develops. I don't know if it'll develop inside. So far, no pumpkins that have fallen off and were only a little bit orange have continued developing when I put them inside or put them in sunlight on the porch or anything like that. So I don't know if this will get all the way orange. It still has a ways to go, but this is our last harvestable hopeful in the fall garden. All right, I think this is the official last flower harvest of 2023. We have some blue sage, some cosmos, some dahlias, some zinnias in here. It's a summery / fall bunch. So we'll put that in a vase and enjoy it as long as we possibly can. So I picked everything except tomatoes because we have a few more warm days, so I want to give them the most chance possible to start blushing. But this is everything else we had. It's pretty meager, but grabbed some peas, I grabbed some pretty tender green beans. We have lots of baby peppers, pretty small, some banana peppers, and that's about it. Collected the eggs from today too, and one little blushing tomato. So all we have left are a few tomatoes and then probably 1 or 2 more harvests of this lettuce, and that's gonna be it. All right, I've picked all the peppers and I've started chopping and dropping pretty much this whole bed. And I cut down all these tomatillo plants, a lot of the cosmos, some of the zinnias I still have up, need to chop those down, but I chopped everything that was underneath all the tomatoes, and I picked everything except for the lettuce and the kale that I'm going to be giving to the chickens. Well, I think that's going to be it for now. We're going to do the tomatoes, and I'm going to leave all the cold weather things in, like lettuce, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, carrots, and broccoli, and see how it goes. But for everything else, I think that's a pretty good wrap. I plan to make a video probably sometime in December going over the season, all the fails, all the successes. There's quite a few of both, and things that I'll want to change for next year's garden. And before you know it, it'll be time to start seeds for that. So thank you so much for coming along on this gardening journey with me. We've learned a lot and had a lot to do, and I've taken a lot of notes for the future. And I know after every single season, you learn more and more and able to hone in on things that work and don't work. So I'm excited to see what next year brings. So thank you so much for following along this season, and I'm sure there will be more gardening, seed starting. We'll start it all over again in the winter. So thanks for coming along, and I'll see you next time. Bye.